story. That was a good one, right?
Well, I was surprised to find it took out for Maine shrimp. I didn't know it. I knew it was shrimp, and it's little.
It was the first time you ever saw them being landed in Gloucester, right?
First time, and I happened to be at the pier when the boat came in with a load of shrimp. I said, shrimp? We don't have shrimp here in Gloucester. They said, well, you've got it now. We're going to unload it. I thought, oh boy, story. So I went back to the Times and loaded up on film, took an extra camera, went home, picked up some more things. I said, better have color too, besides. And oh, it was wonderful. I thought, look, what do they look like? And the man looked at me and said, you poor thing. Well, I didn't know what a little shrimp looked like. I found out. And that was paper-wise. It was a story that won an award. And I was so pleased. And I said, no, I feel as if I own the shrimp now.
So how about some more good ones, some more good stories for the Gloucester Times?
Oh my. Well, I don't know about good stories, but I did cover about 5 days of stories about the Civil War as it was related to local men. And I found out this darndest thing. This woman in Riverdale told me that she had a piece of hardtack that her relative had sent home from wherever they were battling at the time. And she still has it.
It's still good.
Well, I'll bet you it's hot, all right. I don't even know how big it is. Maybe it's too big for me. And I think the thing in Lanesville, besides this community center, which I put as A1, you know, it started out as a cow barn with a horse barn in front. So one day, George Young, who had the dairy across High Street, came over and he said, I'm going to cut the grass because they're finding fire ants in it. And they bought it the kids. So he said, you want that building pushed over? Okay. So he got the usually pushed it right over. Then we called all our friends we knew. That's what we did when we had something to do. We said, well, come on. We've got the whole horse barn down. Now we're going to get it out of the way. And the kids were picking up pieces of iron all over the place. That's what they were doing. And putting it in a junk pile. And then my husband loaded it all up and took it to wherever the junk, and I would get lost in somewhere. Where's the junk place? You know? Where's
Linsky.
Oh no, we went to Boston.
Chelsea.
Oh, I wrote it down somewhere. If you could see the notes, you know, you're a journalist. You don't throw any notes away. You just put them under, hopefully, ABC. So the other day I said, gee, I wonder what I did with all the stories I wrote. And I opened up this, one of those cartons of that long, you can put photos in it. It was loaded with them, all turning brown. Because after all, it was a long time ago. And the other thing I wanted to tell you is because I was so proud of it. Everybody worked, even up to New Hampshire, to back us so we could get the spire back on the Congregational Church. And I got up at the meeting, I'm scared to death, because I don't know, I might have been 20, 21.
This is the Lanesville Congregational Church.
The Lanesville.
Can you back up and tell the story of how you decided it needed the spire? Didn't you approach the minister?
I turned up at the annual meeting. Now that's something to go over. And there were so few.
How old were you?
Probably 22. Somewhere around there. Oh, I was shaking in my knees when I stood up. They said I could speak. So I got up and went down front. And at that time, we were lucky if we had 25 people sitting out front. And I said, well, 1/3 of our church is missing. And they all looked around. And I said, we've got to put I called it a steeple. I didn't know the difference. There is a difference. A steeple has a bell in it. And a spire is the rest of it. I didn't know that. Well, so I got up and said, I think we've got to do that. We've got to get started. We've got 2 people who are willing to jump in and help us in doing things, and that's Paul Manship and Walker Hancock. And
So they missed the joke, though. 1/3 of the church was the spire, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
the congregation.
well, that was taken down in the 1920s or the 1930s. And, well, gee, I took a picture of it with all pretty leaves, you know, and trees, but no spider. And I said, oh, get out there and do something about it. And I said to the people, the ladies, 8 people were sitting in a group, and I said, well, we've got to do that. And this woman was in her chair, and she was going like this, and going like this. She said, how much would it cost? And I said, I don't know, but I suppose 3,000. Oh. I thought she was going to just faint. I said, I didn't mean the ladies' aid is going to do it. So everybody got into it, even the kids, everybody. Even in Portsmouth, they were trying to see if they could see it at daytime. And then when it was all lighted up one night, they said they saw it. They called me up. But, you know, my job was publicity. You know how that is. Want to pick up a penny of publicity.
Right.
But that's good, you get to know everything. And I put in a lot of stories, and I loved it, and I was the chairman of the thing. But I couldn't, there was a picture that my friend took, her name's Marilyn, from the Times, and it shows snow coming down, and here is, who comes forward that side? Simon, Ahola, Sylvester's wife. She's the one who took care of the money. I'm no good with money. But she was wonderful. She worked in the bank too, which is nice. And in the middle is Walker Hancock. He designed the spire that was coming to replace it. And he told me where to write to get the people in Pennsylvania.
So the spire that's there now was designed by Walker Hancock?
And he was very careful about the, what do you call it when one part is to agree to the other?
Proportion.
Thank you. Well, and I don't know my words sometimes, but it was just such a wonderful thing. And the snow was coming down, and just then they hoisted up the cap that goes under the framework, over the framework. And then Sylvester came to the door of the church and blew a fanfare. And the kids got off the school bus and ran up there so they could pull the rope and ring the bell.
So do you want to talk about this? Let's start with Walker Hancock. You lived right down the street from him, right?
Up the street.
Up the street.
That's a difference.
So just that whole community of artists who are, you know, a whole different world. We've got the quarry people, the fishermen, and then the artists living up in the woods, right? So what was that like?
Well, they were always hungry for cake.
And you made the best cake, right?
No, it wasn't cake. It wasn't, the cake wasn't the best. It was the best I could do.
Yes, it was. Yes.
It was great.
What?
The cake was great.
Oh, thank you.
So you have to tell how you learned how to make the cakes.
Oh, I wound up, you know, when you're stuck in the woods all the time, you've got to bring up your family of 3 kids. You've got to think about what you're going to do. So I decided, oh, I'll make cakes. And I found a book in a junk shop way down on Duncan Street years ago. And there was a whole page of this fancy frosting that dried like cement. Now I didn't know that. Well, if you make a wedding cake, you better know how. So the biggest cake I made, I think I might have made for Erkkila. She's over here, she's my niece. And, oh, it was so much fun. My husband put a special, not a tray, what would you call it? The back seat of the Model A Ford.
Rumble seat.
So if you're going to put layers of cake, because they're not, well, the one coat of frosting is on, and you put them down, and then you load up all your bowls and your tools, and you go to where you're going to set up the cake. Because with Evelyn, her uncle carried everything up the road. That was nice. But where was I?
How many tiers? How many? 5.
But there's at least
I don't know,
4.
pretty big. 3, 4 tiers?
Yeah. Was it 4? And then you have to do all the lace work. That's why I wanted the cement frosting. They made the tiers with wood, and you've got to frost it. But I was thinking, I think we had one of those here, right here in the community center.
One of your cakes?
No, I didn't make it. I think Winnie Piston. Winnie, is that her name? Winnie Piston? She lives down near the grocery store. She used to decorate cakes. And not the Winnie, there's too many people named Piston. But they're related, I can say that.
So Eddie, can you talk more about Walter Hancock and Paul Manship and George Demetrius, and not just kind of what the mood, what the atmosphere was?
Well, if you went to see Walter, to ask a question, of course, immediately you had to sit down and have a cup of tea. He would make the tea and get out his best cup and saucer, which gave me the willies, because I knew they were fragile. But it was so nice, and he was always friendly, never in a hurry, and all the time he might have somebody waiting. He never said a word about that. And then the boys would be swimming out in the party pit, and sometimes he had boys there posing. My brother posed for him, and my other brother, and almost every boy in Lanesville was posed for Walter Hancock. Either just their hands, or maybe he liked their feet, or maybe he liked the side of their faces. You never know. So it was all done. And he was you know what he did once? He had a gate that led to a studio off of High Street at the top of the hill, where it hooks around, and his gate's right here. And on it, it said, private, keep out. And underneath and finish it said, welcome. Oh, I love it. We have nice things in Lanesville. But it was always, I got a phone call one day from some boys. They had been down the Cove, and someone brought in a sand shark. So, gee, call Barbara Erkkila, get her on the phone, get her down here. So I rushed down with my camera and drew the sand shark, you know.
Yeah, I do.
And I was so excited that the boys called me. I was so thrilled. That was wonderful.
So did you write a story about the sand shark?
A picture was in the paper. You know how that is.
So this is sort of a silly question.